Nigerians, una never hear the update wey dey trend about America and Nigeria don enter another dimension o. No be small argument today for inside this video between Rufai Oseni of Arise News and Dr. Abati because of the way they react to the kasala wey they say e bin wan burst for Benin Republic. Make una lis ten to the end so una go understand everything dey go for inside this background. Make una just say Arise News their own reaction about the kasala wey wan burst for Benin Republic and the update wey dey trend about America and Nigeria and wetin dey say happen for Imo State, and make una share the video.
The idea of how Nigeria can swiftly respond. This is Chris who wrote on X. Highlight the word swiftly. Interesting. So Nigeria has the capacity to swiftly defend democracy in another country, yet our democracy is in shambles. A democratically elected governor, Sim Fubara, was illegally removed. The current Senate president was imposed not too democratically elected. Terrorists are decimating our people and stealing their lands, and a brigadier general was gracefully killed by terrorists, etc. Well, at this point, I hope that the President of the United States can order the U.S. military to carry out military operations in Nigeria to flush out the terrorists swiftly. And, that was a harsh response. No, I mean, I would call it, it would appear harsh on television, but that's really the mindset of a lot of Nigerians who believe that these are the things that are going on in Nigeria. I'm hoping that Nigeria can actually also swiftly respond. Online, we also saw reports that Nigeria had bombed France. The invasion had occurred. We saw some videos that were posted online as well from
France.
Bombed. Thank you for that. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Bombed Benin. Yeah. And I'll take this. That's one of the videos we saw from Cotonou with an actual, time code from that country. And I'll take a post from investigative journalist David Hudeyi, who wrote, "I think Nigeria is officially over tonight. Bombing your neighbor because a white guy in Paris told you to. Carrying out airstrikes against a fellow African country because Emmanuel Macron wanted you to. Only apartheid South Africa ever did something like this." Well, meanwhile, we'll take this press statement before I come to you, Rufai. Let me come to you with that. And thank you for that highlight, because the reason I said bomb France was because a lot of people had been saying that the French president had intervened with that phone call that he made, telling the president that he was going to help with, security in Nigeria as well.
Okay, see, I might not support many things the government on ground does, but we can't pour on Nigeria's parade. It's not today that Nigeria has been investing heavily in securing our fellow West African brothers. We did that in Liberia. Over the years, between Liberia and Sierra Leone, we spent about $15 billion of our own money. So it's not today we've been doing that. The problems we had with it was that the president was supposed to notify the Senate about it. Secondly, the question we should now ask is, there's also a correlation with the case of Niger. That, okay, in the case of Niger, we didn't go in there because there were protests and everything, because of cultural ties and all of that. But the most important question we should ask is, what is leading to all this coup? African leaders themselves. Talon is not his say. See the protests. People were saying, Abba Talon. Down with Talon. So a lot of people were not really in support of this man that had victimized a lot of people in his country. He has put in his finance minister as a likely successor now. Just on Saturday, the National Assembly in Benin Republic passed a law saying they were going to extend presidential term and things like that. So the leaders themselves have not crowned themselves in glory, and that's what we should keep talking about. If we keep having these Yahoo-minded leaders on the African continent, right, and once they get into power, they think life is all about them. And it's not only Talon. We could go back to the days of Matthew Kerekou. Kerekou also did the same to in Benin Republic. So when are we going to say down with these leaders, abba with these leaders? Just like Thomas Isodore Noah Shankara used to say back in the days, colonialism, abba, imperialism, abba. When are we going to say abba with these bad leaders on the African continent? Because if we don't say that, the coup will continue to happen. Despite the fact that we say we do not support coup, we are totally against coup. The coups will continue to happen if we don't speak tall against these leaders that are making the condition rife for these coups.
Like I rightly said, Dr. Abati, French President Emmanuel Macron over the weekend pledged to increase, French support for Nigeria in tackling terrorism and its array of security challenges. After a conversation with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Macron made this declaration in a post on X on Sunday, in which he stated that no one can remain in the sidelines of the fight in the country. And really quickly on everything that we've discussed, so that we can sum this up, and then I'll move to the other stories.
Okay, first let me talk geopolitics. Now, Nigeria is the most prominent country in West Africa. It's a big power in West Africa. Now, up north you have Egypt, down south you have South Africa. So in terms of geopolitics, Africa, the primary powers relate to Africa in terms of that tripod. Now, America still has its influence with Egypt. It seems to be losing influence with Nigeria. Nigeria is moving towards France. Nigeria is moving towards China and other partners. South Africa, America does not even have a good relationship with South Africa. Now, the subtext, in my view, is that you now see America trying to see how it can regain its foothold in West Africa. In West Africa, that has a part of it has gone in the direction of Russia, another part has gone in the direction of China. Nigeria is very friendly under this president with France. So President Macron also calls, he says he's having this solidarity with Nigeria. So it's the subtext that we should look at. And that is why it's important that Nigeria is now setting up a working group led by the NSA, Ribadu, and we are talking to America, and they are talking about strategic partnership. The subtext of it is, I think America is trying to find a way to work its way back to regain its influence within this region. As for the coup in Benin, Republic of Benin, it was President Boni Yayi, former president of Republic of Benin, who used to refer to Republic of Benin as Nigeria's 37th state. And he used to refer to President Jonathan as my elder brother, and President Obasanjo as his father. That's how close we are, both in terms of culture, in terms of amity, and all of that. So that was why I said, you will say that President Tinubu has acted reasonably by intervening in that country. Not on the invitation of France. I have not seen where it was France that asked Nigeria to go to Cameroon. France does not have such powers. What the Ononuga statement quoted is that there are two requests from Republic of Benin.
I read out, yes.
Yes, I read that so out two requests, and it was on the basis of that they acted. Two, President Tinubu may have said, look, we could suffer collateral damage if there is a coup next door. There could be demonstration effect and all of that. So he deployed the troops. So you may say that is reasonable. But does he have the authority to deploy our troops?
Those were the questions.
Air Force. Does he have the powers under the Constitution? And I say he does not. And that was why I said earlier that Section 305, so 2 and 3, says, okay, even if he acts unilaterally, within a period of 14 days, he has to seek the concurrence of the National Assembly of Nigeria. And that this money is early enough for him to quickly go to that National Assembly, call a meeting of the National Defense Council, and get the ratification of those bodies for deploying our troops.
Yes.
Because it is we, you and I, that will pay for the troops that were sent there.
Which is why you see...
And Nigeria is a sovereign country.
Right.
So he needs to get that concurrence if they are going to remain there. And if the Senate says no, the National Assembly says no, as they did in the example of Niger, then those troops will have to return immediately.
So even when the president of the other country requested for him to have invaded,
you have to go through the National
So you see
Assembly
the reason why people on social media, investigative journalists like David Hundeyin will say that Nigeria should not have acted that way. People are now even saying, so why are we condemning the the invasion that Trump had said that he was going to
No, that's a different.
I'm just saying those are the response. That's the response.
It's not intellectually connected.
No, why not?
No, it's not.
If Trump said that if Nigeria does not keep its house in order, we will send troops on ground. That's all he said. And then the whole country went, berserk.
Now, Trump will need to get the concurrence of Congress.
Which is why he has said...
He doesn't care.
They
has
not declared war yet.
Did he get the concurrence of Venezuela in the airstrikes he did in Venezuela?
He's still doing body language.
No, Audrey has a point. Audrey's right. Audrey's right.
This is the conversation.
It's not even... No, she is correct.
But why is it not different?
It is the same conversation.
Why is it not different?
Dr. Abati.
Which is what you're saying now.
He cannot declare war.
Which is what you're saying.
The Congress is now tackling Trump on those airstrikes now. That's just it. So it's the same conversation. You are correct.
He has not declared war.
It's not a case of declaration of war. Openly bombing another person territorial ground. It's not a declaration of war.
Is Nigeria bombing?
Do you know he has not bombed?
Okay, so what do you want to
continue?
Didn't they bomb targets in the Republic of Benin?
No, are they bombing?
Is there not bombing of targets of Republic?
No, the circumstances are different.
Still on, I really doubt that they are different, but still on security. The National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, hosted a U.S. congressional delegation as part of ongoing talks around security in Nigeria. The delegation included Representative Mario Diaz-Balart, as well as Riley Moore, who were sent on a fact-finding mission. Ribadu expressed optimism that the engagement will deepen trust, collaboration, and shared commitment to peace and security. Well, in a post on X, Riley Moore posted a picture of himself standing with Reverend Wilfred Chikpa Anaigbe, the bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Makurdi in Benue, with a caption that he came to Nigeria in the name of the Lord and on behalf of the American people. And this is what we're seeing online, that the conversation has begun. Yeah. Now, this is the rep that, is leading the investigation. Yeah. He was sent by Donald Trump to actually lead that investigation in Congress. And it's good to see that, Nuhu Ribadu and, even the U.S. ambassador of Nigeria, they all met and the conversation has begun. Yeah. So hopefully, this is, I believe, the right way, the right step, the right sort of diplomacy that we need to see in tackling this sort of insecurity that we see in the nation. Because we have discussed the story at length, I'd like to take another story now. We'll head over to Imo State now, where the police command uncovered an illegal mortuary along the Owerri-Aba Road being used for storing mutilated bodies linked to an organ harvesting ring. Over the weekend, security operatives reportedly found hundreds of decomposing and dismembered bodies inside the morgue, which has since been identified as the Ugudi Cottage Hospital and Mortuary Services. And upon inspecting the morgue, the police also uncovered a shrine belonging to the suspect named Stanley Okparugo, who is currently on the run.
We visited this place. We saw scattered corpses, mutilated corpses in this environment. What we have seen, the corpses that we discovered are more than hundreds. And the owner of the mortuary is on the run. We sent for him, he refused to come. And severally, we mounted surveillance, whether we'll be able to get him, he's on the run. And by the information we gathered, they use this place in dumping the corpses of what they call organ harvest. And we are appealing on members of the public, whoever that have corpse here, to come forward, because His Excellency wants to unveil who and who are running this unauthorized mortuary. Because it's been in existing, it's now that we discover it. And by His grace, we arrest the suspects, and he's going to face the full wrath of the law. Thank you.
This is horrible. Well, the police command have told travelers to stay alert as we approach the holidays while reiterating their commitment to residents' safety. They've also said that, they're going to shut down that morgue at this point because of unsanitary situations. If you had seen the video, we'd seen a shrine there as well. It actually was not running as a morgue. If you had seen some of those horrific graphic images of people's bodies dismembered, and we haven't heard anything from the Imo State government as we speak. Meanwhile, there are mounting calls for the closure of Imo State Police Command's anti-kidnapping unit known as Tiger Base, following persistent allegations of torture, extortion, unlawful detention, and extrajudicial killings. The allegations center on several high-profile deaths in custody. In May, Japhet Njoku, a market security official, allegedly died after 3 months of detention over an alleged cigarette theft. His family says police demanded 4 million naira for his release while torturing him to extract a confession. Another case involves businessman Levi Okpara, a 46-year-old father of 5 who reportedly died in custody in October 2023 after his arrest over what relative described as a domestic misunderstanding with his wife. Family members claim the man was tortured and stabbed on the neck by officers, while former detainees, who have also spoken out, describe their experiences as walking through the valley of the shadow of death. One survivor, Chinonso, says she was detained for 3 months, with police refusing to release her until she confessed to crimes she didn't commit. Meanwhile, the Imo State Police Command has strongly denied the allegations. Spokesman DSP Henry Okoye dismissed the claims as false and unfounded, describing them as a smear campaign by criminal elements seeking to undermine ongoing security operations so far. I'll come to you on this story. I'd like for you to tie in both stories. First, in one hand, we see a morgue with dismembered bodies, and then we're hearing from people in Imo State have gotten so many requests for this sort of story to be told. It's almost like the days of SARS at this point.
Absolutely. All right, so going to the first story, looking at because for the situation to have gotten this bad, there's a failure in the area of oversight. So who are the people responsible for overseeing morgues, regular inspections for morgues in states? It's a state Ministry of Health, State Ministry of Health. It is the Anatomy Council, and we also have the environmental agencies in these states. One of these agencies, or all of these agencies, have failed in this discharge of their duties, because if there had been regular inspections of these facilities, then it would have been uncovered that it was an organ harvesting, masquerading as a morgue. That's one. Number two is also there are stories around even where there's complicity, where people are able to pay their way and there's collusion, or they are able to work with these regulatory bodies or these oversight functionary bodies, and they don't actually do their work. So this is calling on the Imo State Department of Health or Ministry of Health to look into this matter, not just for the morgue in Imo State, but even across the country. We have heard, really terrible things about what happens to the dead. So in Nigeria, both the living and the dead, it was fella that sang, everybody gets a double wahala for everybody. But the truth is that we need to look into how we preserve our dead and ensure there's dignity even in death. And this is the onus of the state government. Talking about state government, it's interesting that it's the same Imo State we're talking about today. And I'm hoping that today's awareness will draw a response from them. But even beyond the response is action. We've heard of human rights abuses during the days of SARS. We know it still happens. We know that despite all the committees and panels of inquiry set up, there are still some unfinished businesses that are there. And this is part of the symptoms of such things, whereby people have authority of state or authority in one form or the other, abuse those authorities. It's a larger issue across the Nigerian institutions and systems. We've seen it in Anambra State. We talked about Ebubeagu, what's the name of that and the Anambra State Local Security Task Force. Yes, we've seen it in many parts. So it's not just Imo State. We have to ensure that there's a respect for human life, dignity, and ensure that people do not face this kind of, degrading, humiliating, and in fact lethal or fatal treatment in the hands of enforcers.
Okay.
That's what we are calling for this
Very well
morning.
said. Now, the stories out here, the residents in Imo State are calling for, some sort of disbandment of tiger base in their state because they have complained enough.
Thank you for watching that video. So guys, before you leave, look at the top here. Do well to subscribe and also put on notification bell so that whenever we upload any video in this great platform, you will be the first to see it. And please don't forget to drop your opinion at the comment section.